everybody. I am super excited to be here. And I'm super excited that you're here. So I'm going to pop over and see who's logging on so I can say hi to everybody, because you know that's what I like to do. And of course, I'm checking. I always have to check to make sure we're actually live, because you know what can happen with technical things. But I see that we're live because people are already popping on. So that is awesome. I am super excited about my guest today. I've known her for a long time, but it's always fascinating to talk to her. She is an author. She's an award-winning author. She has seven books out. I was going to say a lot of books, but we always want to give a number. She's got 7 books out. And I want to talk to her because she has become a master at being able to write fiction, but incorporate global issues that we all care about. So she is an activist and an author, and she combines the two. And so I think that that is fascinating. So let me give you her official introduction. I told you she's an award-winning author. Her new novel, The Standing People, deals with illegal timber laundering out of Madagascar and human trafficking out of China. Now, both have one thing in common. One Chinese family is responsible for organizing the operation out of the United States. We are going to meet, if maybe for the first time, maybe some of you all know him already, because he is the fifth book in the Howard Watson series. But he is an FBI supervisory special agent in charge, and he is going to find a way to stop the family before they get rid of him. Now, JoAnn Fastoff is her name. That's who we're talking about. She is committed to her community. She is a former board member of Growing Home, which is an urban agricultural organization located in one of the most underserved neighborhoods in Chicago. She's also a board member of the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame. And like I said, she is my friend. And I've known her a long time, and I'm super proud and super pleased to be talking to her. So welcome, JoAnn. Woo!
Welcome, Nikki. I'm so exhausted listening to you.
I know. It's so funny. It's like whenever I read somebody's bio or I hear somebody read my bio, I'm like, man, I'm amazing. It's so funny. So, but you've done a lot of great stuff, right?
I'm a legend in my own head.
So tell me, because you have been writing for a very long time, and you probably, and this might be just my perception of you as an author and as a writer, you're very methodical about your writing. Is that true or false?
Well, I want to define. I think
it's a good thing.
I would say yes. Okay, I would say yes. Okay, I do have a plan. I do have a method of how things should be done in my own world. Okay. Right. So yeah, I guess I am.
Okay. See, and I think it's a compliment, because I live in organized chaos. So anytime I see, a method to the madness, I think it's good. So let's go back, because you have been writing for a few years. You have a lot of interests, Chicago White Sox being one of them. Obviously Howard Watson, because he's got 5 books, right? How long have you been writing, and how did you get started?
Okay, well, I've been writing since I was 12. So if you do the math, it was just right before the Civil War. But I've been writing since I was 12, and I won the Reader's Digest Young Writers Contest when I was 12. So, I mean, we're talking 50 years, okay? I just kind of studied things that were around me, and it was just easy to reduce it to writing. I didn't know that people around me said that it was hard, and I go, wow, this is hard? And you're going to pay me to? Oh, yeah, I'm in. Okay. Of course, being in as a writer, it's kind of like I'm on an island, though. I'm the only one doing it. All the naysayers around me help me kind of defer my eventuality. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, just listening to people saying you can't do it, it can't be done. Your books are too long, your books are too short, your words are too long, the words are too short. I don't like the content. Oh, I like the content. And then, you take all those things, and at 12 to 18 years old, you're saying to yourself, I can't do it. Because they say I can't. And obviously they know what they're talking about. Then when I get to college, I realized they didn't know diddly what, okay? I would use another word, but, So whether it's a verb or a noun at this time, you know what the word is. So anyway, so then I finally got it. I finally got it together, and I said, I can do this. I can do this. Okay. So after 2 children and 2 husbands, okay, let's make that 4. Let's make that 4 children. Okay. After 4 children, well, 2 of them being my husband's, I really decided, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. I can do it. And then I just decided to be serious. And for the last 15 years, I put out 7 books. I've been very serious. Okay.
You've been very, very, very serious.
I've been very serious.
5 of those books feature Howard Watson. So let's talk a little bit about that, because you're one of the few authors, I think, that have been really able to successfully weave in community causes without it being preachy, and still yet entertaining. So why did you make the decision, or how did this decision come about, that you really wanted to talk about some very powerful things in your books and deliver a message, but still entertain?
Okay, so I've always called myself a closet activist, okay? Because I know people who are real activists. So I said, okay, maybe I can secretly be an activist in my book with my characters and make a point. Right. Because I really don't have time to throw out my personal opinions every day, all day long, like real people do. So what I do is I make sure that like a cause that I'm looking at, maybe kind of obscure to Americans, but we're still impacted by negative problems that are happening in the world. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so when I read global news all the time, because I'm really sick of local, but when I read global news, I go, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And then I say, how can I fix this in one person's story? Okay. Because I'm not fixing the illicit diamond industry. I'm not fixing tobacco smuggling. I'm not fixing illegal logging. I'm not fixing human trafficking, but I am fixing one person's story. And so that kind of creative license helps me out. And that's what makes me stay in the closet. Okay. So, but I like doing it that way, so that whatever facts are out there, I make sure that some authority in my story dispenses those facts, and it's not somebody's opinion. So, like an authority in whatever industry, okay,
will say part of solving the problem, right? I mean, starting the conversation for those of us, because I'm telling you, I read your books, but I wouldn't necessarily, go find information about illegal logging and become a champion of it. But I'm still being educated because I read your books. So.
But if you are a musician and you go to Gibson Guitar Company and you find out that your guitar is made out of redwood, timber, and that is illegal, and so maybe after reading my book, I wouldn't know
that, right? I wouldn't know that if I hadn't read your book.
And flooring, liquid lumber. What's the name of that place? Liquid Lumber Liquidators. There you go. Okay. I don't remember. They were just sued because all of their lumber was redwood and ebony. Okay. And they got sued. And so, when we buy these things, when we buy diamonds, are we asking Zales, or if you went to Jared, are you asking these people for an authentic certification that these diamonds were not from some illicit diamond mines? No, we're not asking. We're too lazy. We take it for granted that whatever we do is okay here. And it isn't. Because it's impacting negative. It's making insurgents and other countries be able to buy guns, put the worst regimes on board. And not saying that America is not a horrible regime. We are. But we don't want to go up against another regime that's just as bad as us. And so, we need to pay attention to what we're buying, and especially if it's from foreign countries. What's the history on this?
So let me just say, you are not in the closet when it comes to activism. Obviously, you have a lot. You have a lot to say. I do want to make a clarification because Tracy is on. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Kedrick. Hi, Bonnie. Bonnie has elevated you to master. She has you writing
Lord.
17 books in 1 year, but that is not what she said. You've written 7 books over 15 years, correct?
Yes.
So she's still extremely talented and light years ahead of most of us, but 17 books in 1 year is quite a lot. So thank you, Tracy, for pointing that out. Thank you to everybody. We have quite a few authors on. So I will say that Victor is on. And I think I saw Gail on. Gail is an author. So we got quite a few authors. So before we get to the smuggling and the human trafficking, I want to talk a little bit about Howard Watson and how he was developed and how he's become obviously a mainstay in this series and why it's so important that he's a part of it. And Charles is on. Sorry, Charles, I didn't mean to forget you as an author.
Hi, Charles.
So let's talk about Howard Watson.
Okay.
Tell me about him.
What do you want to know?
Why him? Because I know he kind of started out as a small character in one of the books, and he's kind of grown, and obviously now he is the man. And so why him? Why did you decide on him? And as a female writer, I guess, really interestingly enough, why did you decide that you wanted to write a male main character as opposed to a female, as most of us do?
Okay, well, for one thing, we only have Virgil Tibbs, Alex Cross, Easy Rollins. I'm missing somebody, and they're not endangered species. Okay, so Howard Watson is not an endangered species.
Right.
Ain't a Black man on this earth an endangered species. Okay, I can name some endangered species, but it ain't Black people. Now, the thing is that on the challenge, it's more challenging to write a man because I already know what a woman is like. I already know what a brown woman is like. I know what a brown woman with children is like, but I don't know anything about a man. So it makes it more challenging for me to write what you say is a non-stereotypical crime fighter. And he's only non-stereotypical to Hollywood, okay? We see this kind of guy mowing elderly people's lawn in the summer. And we see this kind of guy shoveling their walks in the winter. I know this Black man. I know he lived down the street from me. I have 2 uncles that are Black men. And they're kind of cool. And the thing is that Howard deserves to be on paper. He deserves to be fighting crime like everybody else. So when I decided that I liked him, because he didn't even show up until the last third of my first book, The Gordian Knot, which was about the illegal handling of the Iranian rescue mission, okay? His best friend, John Mason, was an FBI agent, and he said, if anything happens to me, I want you to get he told his wife and his son, I want you to get to Washington, D.C. You've got to look up my pal, my buddy, Howard Watson, which his wife and his son had never met. Okay. And that's okay. But when John Mason was murdered, they got to Washington, D.C. and they got to Howard Watson. Okay. And it wasn't an easy trip. If you read the book, you know, it was not an easy trip. But Howard, he connoted to me that here I am. I'm the best of the best. I am what America produces every day, the best of the best. And when you're the best of the best, it's colorless. Right. And so a lot of people read The Gordian Knot and didn't even know Howard Watson was Black until maybe 3 or 4, chapters in the book, because that's how I write. He happens to be Black. He happens to be a lot of things, but he happens to be Black. And
that reminds me of like James Patterson's Alex Cross series. Like, I mean, when I read, I never really thought of him as a Black man until, what's his name shows up and you're like, oh, he's Black.
So James Patterson said that writing Alex Cross was a challenge for him because Alex Cross is a Black man. Yeah. And he said, I don't know what it means to be a Black man, but I know what it means to be a man. And that's why I write him as a man. Okay. So I just want Howard to be, I want him to be famous. Okay.
Well, we're working on it. We are working on it.
I want people to love him. Okay.
Let's talk about the research involved, because not only are you writing about an FBI agent, and that has all sorts of stuff surrounding that as far as culture and terminology and procedure, but you're also you're writing about all of these different causes, and you've educated me just, a lot of just in conversation. Mm-hmm. But what kind of steps did you go through? Let's start with Howard Watson. What kind of steps did you go through to make sure that he was credible and in line with what an FBI agent is?
Mm-hmm. Well, on my first book, The Gordian Knot, I contacted the FBI agency in Denver, Colorado, because I was living in Colorado at the time. And I wanted to know what their mission was. And they asked me why. And I said, well, I'm writing a book and I'm writing about an FBI agent, and I want him to be credible, but I want to know what your mission is. So they said, we'll send it to you. I go, okay. So they got my address and blah, 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 blah.
They actually physically mailed it to you?
Wait. So okay. I get this doorbell ring about a week later, and it's 2 FBI agents. And I go, excuse me? And wait a minute. So I folded and I just started kissing ass. Okay. And I said, oh, I'm so wonderful. And I'm just, whatever. These guys were real serious. They wanted to know what I was writing about. And I told them, I don't know yet. I said, I don't know yet. I have a premise. Okay. And I told them what my premise was. And they handed me the mission. And they told me about some people in my life and asked me if I knew that certain people, and they named them. Did I know that
before they came over?
They named these couple of people that I knew that belonged to the Labor Party. And I said, yeah, I know them. And they said, well, did you know that they belong to the Labor Party? I said, no, and don't care. Okay. I don't care if they're Jewish. I don't care. I'm not writing about that. And they have nothing to do with my life.
You didn't say it like that to the FBI agents.
Yes, I did, because the thing is there's no numbers across my chest. The worst thing that I've ever done in my life is my credit score was a little low at one time in my life. That's it. You want to get me for that? Go ahead. Okay. But I do know, I tell you something. I do know that every time I go on Google, if I go on Wikipedia, the FBI knows every single thing about me. So then one of the agents told me I should contact the agency and ask for a consultant to see if he could help me. They said, we like helping people. We like helping people tell the truth. And as long as you don't put us in a bad light, we'll help you all the time. I said, fine. I contacted the agent online and I asked them, how does the FBI get involved in the premise that I was talking about? He gave me like 10 websites. Okay. And so from that point on, Jonathan and I are like tight as white on rice. Okay. Because every time I want to write about something, I say, Jonathan, how does the FBI get involved in this is my premise? And he'll send me websites. And that's all he can do is send me websites, but always gives me the right ones. And then I go from there and then I do all kinds of research on whatever I think my premise is going to be. Right. And then I just go from there. And then I come up with a person that it's not so much that I want to save the person. I just want that person's story to be inside the other story.
But you have more than just Jonathan. I mean, you have like 6 FBI consultants. I mean, you have like a circle.
Okay. Now, those are retired FBI agents. Those are the only ones that can help me. But Jonathan
Jonathan is current and those are retired.
That's right. Okay.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, that's good. So how do you decide what issues? Are these things that you're just passionate about? How do you decide which ones you're going to put in the book?
Arbitrary. I mean, you know what?
Hijacking is not arbitrary.
Okay. So, let me just give you an example. Okay. So I'm in Chicago. I go to the corner for a bus, and there's a guy there selling squares. Okay. And I'm going, do you know what a square is? It's a cigarette. Okay. Okay.
You know what a
Okay.
square is.
You know what? Some people are naive. You know how it goes. Okay. I'm so worldly now,
Right, I was gonna say, you get the one low credit score.
So anyway, so they're selling squares on the corner, and they're like, I think $1 a cigarette. And I go, wow. And so I had a conversation with the guy one time that was selling these squares. And I said, how much do you make? And on this corner, he said, I make enough to pay my rent. I said, you make that much money? He said, yeah. So then I say to myself, wonder what the person's making that sells the cigarettes to him.
Right.
And wonder what the person's making that distributes the cigarettes to the person that's selling to him. Right. So then I start doing research on illegal tobacco smuggling. And then I come up with everything. And then I have enough information that I can talk factually, but I don't have enough information that I have a story. Okay. So I'm not reporting. I'm a novelist. And the reporting that comes across is very small, but enough to sustain my story.
And can you judge that, or does your editor have to say, look, there's too much fact here. We need more story. I mean, are you a good judge of that?
My editor does not edit my content.
Okay.
Okay. My editor does not say this is a good story, this is not a good story. My editor grammatically corrects me and makes sure that I don't go out on a limb where this page should have been in page 2 instead of page 20. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that's what I like about my editor. And it's actually, I have 2. So one is a guy and one is a woman. And I always make sure that when they're editing my stuff that, I said, don't ever believe that you're personally attacking me, because you're not, because I'm not going to be good unless you make me good. Okay. And so when you make me good, then I'm better. And we have that kind of relationship with both.
Right. And I always tell people, that's exactly what I think. I think people can write good books, but I think editors make them great.
Yes, that's right.
You can get around that. But then you say that they don't really comment on the content. So do you write this book for you? Like, would this be a book you would write anyway, even if nobody else ever read it, because you just want to get it on paper? Or do you actually write this for other people? Or is it a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both. I first write it because I think that I have a good story. And I secondly write it to see if it is a good story. And does somebody really want to read it? So when it goes to, first it goes to the man that thinks he's my husband. And then I say, Ron, he'll say to me, wow, I did not know this, because Ron he's a vociferous reader. Okay. And he would not read me except that he loves me, because he likes reading books that are 7,200 pages. Right. And see, I'm from the school of Shakespeare that says you don't have to write 300 pages to have a good story. So Ron's learning how to read 140, 150 pages and less. Okay. But if it gets through him, then I believe I'm on my way. Okay. Because remember, he's a guy. And when he reads Howard Watson, he's reading a guy. And then many times, I'll say, Ron, would a man say this? And he'll say, no. 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 And I'll say, well, how would a man say this? And he'll tell me exactly how a man say it. And it's just like my FBI consultants. They'll tell me things like if I said, well, all the male FBI agents are mad at the female agents because they can have maternity leave and blah, 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 and they get easy assignments. And then the FBI consultants will say, no, JoAnn, they get soft assignments. And I go, yes, all I want to be is right. Okay.
Right.
So my editors, as I said, they have 2 jobs. One, to read, to make sure that the story is beginning, middle, and the ending. Whether or not the ending makes sense to any of them, that's not important. And then grammatically correct. Okay. So
I
that's
think
it.
you're the only author that I've ever heard say that.
What?
Ever.
What?
That their editors, it doesn't matter if the ending makes sense to them or not.
No, no. See, there's various kinds of editors, and I don't have that kind.
I see clearly.
Now, I don't have
I've never not had one of those editors. And I mean, I honestly, and I'm not, there's no judgment. I mean, I just never ever thought that it was possible not to have one. So it's
Well, that's because I have a lot of friends that might have different endings for my stories. Okay. But they're not writing it. So
that's why I was like, I think you halfway write this book just for you. Because you're like, I don't care what anybody else thinks. This is the book I'm going to write. That's funny. Very funny. So tell me what's different, and then we're going to see if there are any questions. Like I said, there are a lot of authors on it. I'm sure there's people that want to write books, so we're going to ask questions. I want to learn some more about the human trafficking part of this, that also is a part of the story. But what's different from the first book to the seventh book? What is different in you as a writer?
Confidence. Confidence. And the ability to take a break, and self-esteem is just way up.
Did you have low self-esteem at one point, or were you just not? Because I think every writer has those moments before they release that book that they're like, this is crap. You know what I mean? Like, I can't put this out there. So was it just that? Because I think every writer has that, or was it really low self-esteem? I'm just curious, because you never seem like you would have a self-esteem issue to me.
Okay. Self-esteem, there are layers of it. Did I have a low self-esteem? No, never, ever. Okay. Yeah. But I didn't have the amount of self-esteem required to say to myself, you're a writer. And I think you're a good writer. I think you have good stories. And so I tell myself this all the time. When my first book came out, I had to stare at it all the time. Okay. I said, wow, I have a book. Okay. But then after that first book, and I was in all the border stores. Okay. And I said, oh my God, look at me. This is me. I was just so in love with myself. I was disgusting. But then I said, I wonder if I'm a fluke. So then I kind of liked Howard Watson. And so I decided, let me see if I can do another caper. Mm-hmm. And then I looked up global problems, picked one out, contacted Jonathan at the FBI. He gave me a bunch of websites and I was on my way. So then I have 2 books. Okay. Liked Howard Watson again. Something came to me as I was finishing my second book on Howard Watson. I had a story in my head about him for the 3rd book. And then I go, oh my goodness, I have 3 books. And that's really, he has good stories. I want to keep him working. And Walter Mosley told me that work him until he says he's tired.
And I was going to ask you that. When he's done, are you going to be done? Like, will you be able to let Howard go to his place of peace when he's finished?
Yeah, there's always his wife and his son.
It's so funny because when I first started writing my first book, and I had no plan, I just had a story, and I really it was like one of those things where I would send out, oh, that would be cool, and I just kind of write, and then I would send it out, and people would be like, well, what happened? Did they do this? What, and you just keep writing. But I think it's in that process that I realized that characters really do talk to you. And so you could have the best laid plan for a character. And I know now that you really should have a plan. You shouldn't just start writing.
Oh, yeah.
I had to do a lot of reworking because I didn't have a plan. But sometimes those characters don't agree with your plan. And so has Howard ever gone left when you wanted to go right?
Absolutely. In my book, the Smoke Ring, one of my characters is a female FBI agent whom I love. You might see more of her, Janet Forrestal. Ron said, why don't you let her have a romance? And I go, I don't know how to write romance. He says, well, let me take a stab at it. I go, okay, because I do not know how to write romance. Okay. I
So
know how
your
to,
husband romance part of it?
yeah. And so he's a poet, he knows it. But anyway, so
Right.
he wrote like 4 paragraphs and they were awesome for erotica magazine. Okay. I said, oh my God, there is nobody on earth that's going to believe I wrote this, Ron. So then I just edited in Janet Forrestal's way. So it was easy because he wrote it as a man, but it was a passage for a woman. And so this is finally, I get a real part to write as a woman, So that was a strain. So, I kind of went left on that one. Okay. But I think that it makes
what page is that in the book?
it's in the smoke ring.
I want to know the page. I want to just go right to the page. And then I want Ron to send me what he originally wrote so I can see the difference. So because I do want to take questions, but one more thing, just because we talked about the confidence and you really not caring as much as I think most authors do, which must bring a little bit of freedom for you that we don't have. We don't really, we care a lot about what the readers say and what they want. How do you handle reviews when people are not necessarily as happy with your work as you would like them to be? Or have you gotten those reviews? I shouldn't make that assumption that you have, but how do you handle them if you have gotten them?
I think that one of the consistent, I would say one of the consistent negatives that I've gotten about the Howard Watson mystery series is that they're not long enough. Okay.
Wow.
And so
that's not negative. That's like we want more. We want more.
No, well, you see, there's a compliment in it, but
right.
but the negative part is that perhaps what they're saying is that I didn't flesh it out enough so that it could be 300 pages. And one person said to me, and he and I are not speaking now, but one person said to me, he says, well, why didn't you just make, the Gordian Knot and the Pact one book? No, why don't you put those stories together? And then I said, then I wouldn't have had 2 books. Okay, then he goes, okay. But I figure what people are saying is that, maybe they're not long enough. And then what I realized, though, I realized who my demographic is. And that is a busy person. That's a person that has 2.5 hours that they could read. And that's me. You get on the flight in Chicago, you land in LA, you finished my book. Okay, then you're looking for another one. Or your flight was canceled and you go, oh my God, I got to read JoAnn Fastoff's book. And then you do, and then you wish you had already. But that's what I'm writing.
I wish more authors would get that, because I think that we still are in love, just like radio personalities are in love with the sound of their voice. It's like writers are still in love with words. And I think that we still go for those, 200, 225, 250, and people don't want that.
No.
It's like they want to read it, they want to enjoy it, and they want to move on to the next thing. That's just where we are in society. So you are a little bit ahead of the curve on this one, ma'am. a little bit, yeah. A little bit ahead of the curve, but you're ahead of the curve. You're ahead of the curve. What do you want people, and we have a couple of questions, but what do you want people to walk away with? When they're done with your book, what do you want their reaction or experience to have been?
I would like for them to write me, tell me, I liked it. It wasn't long enough. I liked it. I liked it. I liked it. Can you write about this? Can you, whatever. I want somebody to say, I really like the story, or I didn't like the story because why? I want those comments. I can only become better once you make me better. Okay. And I recognize that a lot of people, I know jealousy has a way of creeping up and making you say the wrong things before you can catch it. Okay. And I can read in that too. So I'm okay with that. But just the fact that you took a moment to write me, I'm okay.
Yeah, I think the one thing that served me well as a writer was that I was a radio personality for so long before that, because you have to have really thick skin. Like you
Mhm.
really have to let everything just kind of roll off. Like you said, I mean, take what you can so it makes you better, but all of that extra you let go. And I think
Right.
that's awesome. So we've been talking about the book, The Standing People. It features Howard Watson. We're talking about the human trafficking and the illegal lumber
Illegal logging,
logging.
timber logging out of
Okay, but there's
Madagascar.
another word, logging, hijacking. What's the other word? What are they doing to the logging?
They're laundering it.
Okay. I knew there was one more word I was forgetting, but that's what we're talking about. It's called The Standing People by JoAnn Fastoff, and it actually releases this Saturday, October 6th.
6
Right. I have all these like numbers in my head.
in
October
2 days. In
2 days.
days.
And so you can learn more about JoAnn on her website at joannfastoff.com. She's having a big shindig in Chicago. She is going to party, and you can actually download a free excerpt from The Standing People, so you can kind of get a feel for what it is. You can also look at our other books. Those are on the website. But the book does release October 11th. So I am super excited about that. One person asked, like, how do you begin? Like, what is your, that is always the hardest, like that first, what is your process for starting a book?
Whoa, that is asked all the time.
Mhm.
And I say all the time. I was a playwright. So I always wrote in 3 parts, just like a play. I always set up everybody that's going to be in that book in the beginning, just like Shakespeare does. Okay. So what I do is I start with who is going to be in the book, who's going to be in the story. All right. And then I'll even say in the story, oh, this person's going to be killed. Okay. Now, after I go through that muddled middle, though, that person might live depending on how I like the person or how I think you should like the person. Okay. But what I do is I just set it up in 3 parts. The beginning, where I set up all the characters. The middle, where I say, this is where we're going. This is what the problem is, that global problem. Okay. And the end is where I don't have a Hollywood ending now all the time, but the ending should say that one person's story was finished. Now, the global problem, it's still going, but the one person's story is finished. So I have it in those 3 parts, but I always have what the character is going to be doing, what the setting is going to be, and then I go from there.
So for you, like, how long does that process take? Like, before you're ready to send it to the editor, from the very first day to that day you ship it off, how long does it normally take you to finish a book?
Oh my God. Well, I'd say for me, 2 years. Okay, now understand this. So my first book came out in 2005. This is 2018. And I have 7 books in 13 years. Okay.
But is that because you have to do so much research on the book and so much
fact
checking on? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but in my White Sox book was it was a respite from Howard Watson. Okay. And then my 2 Years of Heaven, the memoir, was a respite from Howard Watson. Okay. But Howard Watson, he could be 18 months to 2 years, so that my research is thorough. And then my story is not insulting anybody's intelligence. Okay. Because my White Sox book, I'm a photographer too. So I've been taking photos of the White Sox forever. And for me to do research on them, it only took a year for White Sox. Okay. And then 2 Years of Heaven, I interviewed people for that book. So that only took a year and a half. But Howard Watson he's a little bit more difficult, because I want to make sure that he stays in touch. I stay in touch with who he really is, and not JoAnn Fastoff. Okay. I want to make sure that he's who he is. And then also, if I refer to something like in my latest book, and I'm referring to something that was in my first book, I got to go to the first book and make sure that they are the same. There's a continuity there. Okay. So if I'm saying Carol Watson, Howard's wife, they met, blah, 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 I got to go run back and say, uh-oh, is that where they really met? Or, whatever. And I can't make Mark any older than he really is and blah, 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 blah.
Right. So another question we got, and I think every author gets this, is are any of the characters based on you in your book? Like, are you in your book?
Okay. So Howard's wife, Carol,
is a lot like you.
Is, as an adult, she is nothing like me. But I go through her young years in the Gordian knot, and that's all me. Okay. She's a tomboy. She's smart. Her being overweight is secondary to her great smile. Yeah. She argues with her dad. She and her father are sports buffs. And so then when she's an adult, she's nothing like me.
Because was that by design, or was that just kind of, it just felt right for who she is?
It felt right for who she is. Okay. So that could be by design, growing her into a certain person separate from me. Okay. But, Howard is a combination of 5 men I know, including my father, but I threw some part of me into him because he speaks Russian. He's fluent in Russian. My father was first generation American. His parents were Ukrainian Russian. So I wanted something of me in him, even though he's a guy. And I threw that in.
Yeah. And I think that I don't really ever, try to put something of me, but I always think there's somebody close to me that's reflected in a character or a situation. And that's just kind of me paying homage to the people that I really care about. So like in my first novel, I mean, it was pretty much all my grandmother. Like, I mean, it was, it was her.
Yeah.
Because it was set in Jamaica. So it just was very, very familiar for me.
Sure.
And I'm sure there's somebody that shows up, and because I'm writing it tends to sound like me, but I don't intentionally, and I don't even want to ever put anything like, based on me in there. But I certainly have, like my daddy's a very big piece of it in there. So I think that's really very interesting. But everybody's like, oh, that's you. No, that's not me. I didn't do any of that. So
that's right. Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So as we close this, what do you want people to know about you that we may not have already learned? I
don't know.
Yes, you do. Come on.
I don't know. Let's see. I am. I can't say what it is somebody doesn't know about me. Okay, so for all you millions and millions of possible Howard Watsonians, I love the truth. I'm not saying that I'm honest. I'm just going to say I don't lie. Wait, no. I'm not a liar. Oh, I can lie, but I'm not a liar. Okay. So, but what I like to make sure that what you're reading is something different.
Yeah.
And I believe that I don't write about, there's room for baby mama drama. There's room for talking about your man like a dog. There's room. I see it on the shelves. It's not room for me. I want to talk about somebody who's enjoyable, somebody who's not inept, someone who's not comic relief, someone who isn't angry all the time, and someone who enjoys his life. I enjoy my life. So that's what I can say.
Yeah, I think you're probably, and I'm trying to say this, and I can't find the right word, but you are one of you are so unique. Ooh. You are one of the most unique people I think that I have ever met. But you're one of the warmest people. I mean, you do tell the truth. I mean, you've said some things, and I've been like, okay. but I know that you do that just because I think you want people to have the truth. Like, I think for me, it feels like you would feel disrespected if somebody didn't tell you the truth. So you don't want other people to feel the same way. So it comes from a different place other than I'm just going to school you. So, you know what I mean? It comes from a different
That's
place.
right.
And so I respect that about you. And I respect you as a writer, and I respect you as a friend and a colleague. And I am so proud of you and the Standing People, and so excited for the release. So definitely make sure you connect with JoAnn on Instagram, because she shares all her fabulous pictures. She was just on a little getaway, and all I saw were pictures of tequila and all this. And so I was a little close about that, but she shares all her fabulous pictures. She tells you all sorts of interesting facts about Howard Watson and some of the social issues that she talks about. But you can also connect with her on Facebook, and you can certainly log on to her website and get the excerpt of The Standing People and get information on how you can actually purchase the book once it's released on
October 6th.
Saturday. So
2 days.
So thank you so much. I'm super excited that you hung out with me. We've never done this. I haven't hugged you in years, but I will be in Chicago soon. So definitely, yes. Definitely, I will get a chance to hug you. So thank you so much, JoAnn. Is there anything else that I left out, or where people can find you? I know Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, I do want to say one other thing. For people who are aspiring writers, and for people who have like that one book out there and you really want to do that number 2 and 3 and 4, stop listening to the people who don't write. Stop listening to the people who are going to tell you what to do, because they can't do it. And so what they want to do is make sure you don't do it either. And don't bow to that. Okay. If you've written a book, you know the time it took for you to reduce your words to writing. You know the kind of time it took for you to say, I think I have a great story. Mm-hmm. Go with that. Go with your gut. And then stop showing it to everybody. Because then you're going to hear them say, well, I don't like that. Stop showing it to everybody. When you're done, you're done.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that the same could be true for some other writers, because even though I think that writers can have great advice, I think that everybody has their own process. And I think sometimes writers try to not just give you writing advice, they try to give you process advice. Mm-hmm. And so you can't necessarily take somebody else's process and really it worked for you. You have got to find your own process.
Right.
So it really is one of those things. It's like being any kind of an artist. I mean, you really got to believe in your talent and find the system that's going to deliver that in the best way possible. And that may not look like anybody else's system, but I think the end result that really matters. So yeah, great advice. Thank you, JoAnn.
Thank you, Nikki.
And thank you guys. And so definitely make sure you go check out the website, download the excerpt. You will not be sorry. And let's support on Saturday. So I will talk to you all guys later. We'll see you on the next live. And like I said, connect with JoAnn on social media and her website.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining. And we will talk to you soon.
Bye.